to start off by asking you a question. And the question is, what do you do when you've been pursuing your goals and your dreams? What do you do when you've been going after this thing that you want and you're feeling frustrated, you're feeling tired because now some months have gone by or possibly some years have gone by and you haven't produced the results that you want? Or maybe as you've been going through this journey, you've been having thoughts of giving up. You've been having thoughts that maybe perhaps this isn't going to work, that this business is not going to work, that this relationship, it's not going to work, or this dream, this thing that I've been sitting on in me, this thing that I've been wanting to pursue, that maybe perhaps it's not going to work. So what do you do when you get to that point? When you feel like quitting, when you feel like giving up, when you're starting to think that maybe perhaps the dream, that it's not going to come to reality. And so what I say to you is this, and I want you to write this down, and it's 2 or 3 simple words, and it's this, and here's what I want you to know. You have to find a way. Find a way. You got to find a way to make this thing happen. Find a way, somehow, some way to stay in business. Find a way, somehow, some way to make this marriage work. Find a way, somehow, some way to grab back a hold of your health. Whether you got to change your health regimen, change your eating, find out about some natural things that you can do. Find a way, whether you got to pick up the phone and call somebody else. Find a way, go the extra mile, do something that maybe perhaps you've never done before. Find a way, dig deep, draw from a place in you that maybe perhaps you didn't even know exists. And so you say, where'd you get that from, Andy? You know, there was some breaking news earlier this week. It was down here in South Florida, and this made national news. And there's a woman who has been chasing her dream now for over 3.5 decades. She's been chasing a dream for 36 years. And so some of us right now, we've been in the pursuit of our goals and our dreams. And maybe we've been at it now for a couple months. Maybe we've been at it now for a year or 2 or maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years. And you've been thinking about giving up. But here's this woman who's been pursuing this dream for 36 years. For 36 years, she said that I'm going to do something that nobody else has done. I'm gonna swim from Cuba all the way to the United States. I'm gonna swim from Cuba. I'm gonna swim all the way to the Keys of Florida. I'm gonna swim over 100 miles. I'm gonna take my body and go through shark-infested water. I'm going to swim through waters that have jellyfish, that have the ability to sting you. And literally when you get stung, you feel as if your life and your body is on fire. I'm going to attempt to do this. And she attempted to do this 36 years ago at the age of 28. She attempted to do it, but it was too difficult. That the conditions out there in the water, it was too difficult. She didn't make it. And so she attempted again to do this. And when most people would have given up, she attempted to do it again during the years of 2011 and 2012. She attempted 3 more times, and every single time she didn't make it, even though at some point she had made it halfway. But she got stung by too many jellyfish. She was in the water with sharks and the water conditions. There were storms. She just couldn't make it. And now, finally, at the age of 64, this woman who's been chasing the dream for 36 years, this dream that's been in her heart, that she was able to finally swim from Cuba all the way to Florida. And I was watching this woman as she was being interviewed. And now, when you do something like this, it makes national news. And she was being interviewed by all the different news stations and the national stations and the local stations. And one of the ladies who was interviewing her posed her a great question. And here's what she said. She said, oh my gosh, she said, Diana, her name is Diana Nida. And she said, Diana, listen. She said, Diana, I have to ask you this question. She said, you've been chasing this dream now for 36 years. You've attempted to do this 4 other times. And unfortunately, things didn't work out for you. When you first attempted to do this thing, you were 28 years old. Now you're 64 years old. She said, I just want to know, how did you do it? At that moment when you wanted to quit, at the moment when the salt water was all inside of your mouth and the inner lining of your mouth was literally eaten up and you started to have lacerations at the moments when you felt like you were going through hell, at the moment when you feel as if you could hardly breathe, at the moment when every part of you is saying that I can't do this, how did you do it? And Diana looked right into the camera. And Diana said, this time I gave myself a mantra. This time, even though I know that as I go through this process of trying to swim for 3 days, all the way from Cuba to the United States, she said, this time I had a mantra that every time things got difficult, every single time that I wanted to quit, every time as my body was going through all type of conditions, and she said, let me tell you something and make sure you make no mistake about it. She said, when I'm out there in the water and I'm out there with the sharks and I'm out there with the jellyfish and I'm pushing my body, she said, every moment is like going through hell. I'm taking my mind physically and mentally. I'm going through a process that I've never been through before. It's the most difficult thing I've ever done. But she said, this time I had a mantra. And every time I thought about getting out of the water, every time I got frustrated, here's what I said to myself. I said, Diana, find a way. Find a way. And so here's what I say to you. Right now, there's something that you know in your heart that you should be doing. There's something in your heart that you know that you've been pursuing this thing. That there's something that you know that life is calling you to do. And maybe perhaps you attempted to do it and it got difficult. It didn't work the first time. Or maybe you've been going through the process and you haven't seen the results you wanted. You thought that by now, after putting in this amount of work and energy, you thought that by now you'd be further along. You thought that by now you'd have success. But unfortunately, things aren't working out. That at this point, where maybe there's some people who you thought believed in you and now telling you, why don't you just quit? Why don't you just give up? This thing is not going to happen. Come on, it's not going to work for you. What you've got to say within yourself is, I have got to find a way. I got to find a way to make this marriage work. I have to find a way. I have to find a way to stay in this business. I got to find a way to get some new business partners. I've got to find a way to have that same energy, that same passion that I had when I first started this business. I've got to find a way that even though there's some people around me who's saying that I'm too old to be pursuing this golden dream, that I've got to find a way, even though that you're at the point right now where you say, I don't have the money in my bank account, but I've got to find a way to make this thing happen. I've got to find a way. Because this thing that I'm pursuing, that this thing, it's bigger than me. That I know when I'm laying down in my bed, that this is the thing that's in my mind. I've been saying to myself that I have to make this thing happen. And I keep pushing it off. I keep making excuses. I keep second guessing myself. I've convinced myself that I don't have enough money. I've convinced myself that it's too late in my life. I've convinced myself that this thing is not going to work out. I've convinced myself that this thing, that maybe some other people, it can work out for them, but for me, it's not going to happen. I've convinced myself that the people who told me that it's not going to work, I've bought into what they said. But no, you got to find a way. You got to find a way to make this thing happen. And so I think about, it was some years ago, I went to a personal development seminar. And this seminar was designed to help people who had the desire to become a speaker, to take their speaking to another level, to teach them the process of how to tell their story. To be able to not just speak people and hit them in the head, but to penetrate people's hearts And so I remember being at the seminar, and there was a process at the very beginning of the seminar where we all broke up in different groups. And so there was probably about 100 of us in the room, and we were sitting around in little round tables. And as we were sitting at the table, there's probably about 5 or 6 other people who are sitting at my table. And I was sitting next to this gentleman. And this guy, he had a certain amount of passion every single time this guy spoke. Every time he spoke, it wasn't just the words. You could feel the passion. You could feel the drive behind everything that he said. One of the things that we love to say is what makes a great speaker is who they are behind the words. And this man, you knew that when he said everything he spoke, you know that he felt it. He said it with conviction. And I remember at some point, him and I, we started bonding throughout the day. And we were speaking about, how we found out about the seminar and how we got there. And this guy, he confided in me, and he said, Andy, I got to tell you something, man. He says, I know that I have a story in me that I have to tell. It's not even an option, man. He says, I have to tell this story. That isn't an assignment. It would be a crime for me to go to my grave and not share this story. And so I know that I needed this coaching. I know that I needed to be here for this weekend. And he says, man, I need you to understand something. He said, dude, listen to me, man. He said, I used every single penny to my name in order to get here to this seminar. He said, everything. And when I looked in this guy's eyes, I mean, the conviction level when this guy said this, I didn't question for a moment. This guy said he used everything that he had, every penny to his name to make it there for the weekend. And so as the day was going on, we broke out for lunch. And I realized that everybody's eating lunch. And I see this guy, and I asked him, hey, you going to join us for lunch? And he said, no, I'm not going to join for lunch. I'm passing on lunch. And as we were sitting in the lobby area, we were eating lunch, I looked over and I saw him, and he was just sitting there. And so I said, okay. And so later on now, literally hours have gone by. We've been through this very intense workshop. And even all of us who ate lunch, now it's dinner time, and all of us are extremely hungry. And once again, everybody's going out to eat dinner. And I look once again and I see this guy afar off, and he's not eating dinner. And then it's registering to me, wait a second, this guy said that he used everything that he had in order to get to the seminar. I said, wait a second. Everything? Are you trying to tell me, wait a second, Andy, does this guy not have money to even eat? I said, this guy doesn't even have money to eat, and I don't want to be out of line and ask this guy if he doesn't have money to eat. And so I don't know. I just go after we eat dinner, session wraps up. Once again, everyone's going back to their hotel rooms. I look once again in the lobby. This guy is sitting in the lobby. So finally, I go and I sit down next to him. I say, hey, man, how's it going? What'd you think about today? He said, man, it's amazing. He said, I'm so glad I came. I said, oh, okay, that's awesome. I said, well, are you staying at this hotel or are you staying at another hotel? And he said, it just gave me that look. And it was that look where he didn't have to say another word. He didn't have to say another word because I understood. And it finally dawned on me. This guy had literally used every single penny he had to get to the seminar. And the only thing he could afford to do was to get to the seminar and register for the seminar. He didn't have a penny to eat with, and he didn't even have a hotel room. He had already decided in his mind that he was going to find a way. And if it meant sleeping out in the lobby, that's what he was going to do. And when I looked in this man's eyes, and I realized that this guy was that serious about his dream, that this guy was not going to make any excuse like most of us who have a dream or something that we want to pursue, and we make an excuse. If we had to spend our last, we would say that we couldn't afford it. If we had to spend our last, we would say that we'll catch the next seminar. If we had to spend our last, we'd come up with some elaborate fancy excuse. But this guy understood, and he said to himself, I've got to find a way. And so for me, it was a absolute privilege to walk up to the front lobby I had them pull up my reservation. I said, I'm currently in a room right now that has one single queen bed. I said, can you go ahead and change that to a room that has 2 double beds? And I went up to him. I said, listen, man. I said, I'm amazed. I'm honestly amazed, man. I mean, it's one thing to talk about this stuff, but it's another thing to live from that place where you believe in something so much that you're willing to put it all on the line, that you're willing to find a way, that you're willing to come to a seminar, even when you don't know how you're going to eat, even you don't know how it is that where you're going to rest your head, man. I respect that. And I said, man, it would be my privilege. It would be an absolute privilege for you to go ahead and share a room. I just switched my reservation. Now I've got two separate beds in the room, man. You're more than welcome to go ahead and use the other bed that's in my room. And this guy looked at me, man, and tears came from his eyes. And he said, thank you, man. I said, nah, man. I said, let me tell you something. You are an inspiration. And why was he an inspiration? Why? Because he was willing to find a way. And so I know this, that there's something that you're working on right now, that you're feeling frustrated, you're tired, you've been going after this thing, or maybe you've put it down for a while. You've convinced yourself that it's not going to work out. You've convinced yourself that maybe perhaps it's too late. You've convinced yourself that it's too difficult. You've convinced yourself that you don't have the right amount of money in your bank account. You've convinced yourself that now is not the right timing. And what I say to you is this: find a way. Find a way to make this thing happen. Find a way to come up with the money. Find a way to get to the next event. Find a way to keep your business going. Find a way to get in front of the right person. Find a way to get your health back. Find a way to keep your marriage together. Find a way to get out of debt. Find a way to pursue your goals and dreams. Find a way. Yeah. And so let me tell you something. You decide to find a way. I can tell you right now, it's not going to be easy. No. It's not easy to show up to a seminar when you have no idea where you're going to sleep or how you're going to eat. Let me tell you something. It's not easy to swim for 3 days, over 100 miles through shark-infested water with jellyfish that sting and it feels like your body's burning, with the sun beating down on you and you feeling sunburned, with the salt that's in the water getting all into your mouth and in your mouth swelling up and getting lacerations all in your mouth and everything swelling and your breathing is starting to shorten. It's not easy when every part of your body wants to give up. It's not easy when you know you've been pursuing this goal now for over 36 years. It's not easy when every part of you just simply wants to quit. It's not easy when you know that you don't have the money, but you've got to go put it on a credit card. You've got to ask somebody for a loan. It's not easy when you've been working the business and talking to friends and family and people are telling you no, and you keep putting on home events and home shows and you're inviting people to come and check out the opportunity and they're not showing up. That's not easy. It's not easy when you get new business partners and they're getting into business and one by one, as soon as they come into business afterwards, they're disappearing on you and they stop working the business. It's not easy when you've been in this marriage now for 20, 30 years, 15 years, 10 years, and this person you fell in love with, now they feel like a stranger. That's not easy. It's not easy to find a way, but it's necessary. If you want to make this thing become a reality, if you want to take this thing to the next level, if you want to be able to make history like this woman, if you want to finally accomplish this dream, this thing that's been in your heart now for years. And you've attempted it many times before and it didn't work. It's not easy to find a way. But I'll tell you this, it's worth it. And so just when I thought I learned everything that I could learn from this woman, Diana, it was so amazing. And I want you to go on the internet and you can Google her name. And her name is Diana Nyad. And you spell that Diana, and her last name is Nyad. And just when I thought I learned everything that I could from Diana, as soon as this woman who had been in the water now for 3 days, this woman who swam over 100 miles, this woman now who was with absolutely fatigued, sunburned, mouth completely swollen, could barely talk. And there was all these people who were in the water who were cheering her on as they saw her coming. People were getting in the water and they were holding their cameras and they had to push people back. Push, make room, let her breathe. Like she's coming out. Come on, give her space, let her go. She takes her goggles off and she looks into the camera. And here's this moment, instead of saying, yes, I did it, yes, this is all about me, she decides that she's going to hit people with 3 more lessons. And here's what she said. She said the first thing is, and she says, I want everybody to know this. She said, never, ever give up. Because part of finding a way is understanding that things aren't always going to happen in your timeline. That sometimes you're going to go after this dream. You're going to be putting in the time, the effort, the energy, and things aren't going to work out the first time. Some people are going to tell you no, that you're going to fail, that you're going to convince yourself that it's too late. It's not going to work out. But she said, what you have to do is you've got to say to yourself that I'm never, ever going to give up. Yes, I got in this same ocean 36 years ago and it didn't work out. I got in again in 2011. I got in again in 2012. I've attempted this 4 other times, but I said to myself at the age of 64 that I'm never, ever going to give up. And here's what I say to you. That right now, as you pursue this goal and this dream, you can't give up. Not now. No, this dream, it's too big. No, this thing, it's something that's been put in you. It's something that you've been put on this earth to do, that if you're still breathing right now, I don't care what your situation is, that you can make this thing happen, no matter how difficult it may appear, no matter what your circumstances are, regardless of what your bank account is saying to you, that you can't give up. You've got to find a way to make a way. And so the first thing she said is never, ever give up. And I want you to write that down. And here's the second thing she said. She said that you're never too old to chase the dream. And I would add to that, not only is it never too old to chase the dream, but it's never too late to chase the dream. And so maybe you have this thing that's been in your heart. And you know that right now that it's been years, it's been sitting in your heart. And you know that at this point you said, I should be done by now. It should have been accomplished. I thought I'd be further along in this business. I thought that I'd be further along with this dream. I thought that I'd be further along in all these things that I've been looking to accomplish. And it's not happening. And what I say to you is it's still not too late, that you can find a way to make this thing happen. George Eliot said it's never too late to become the person that you could have been. That this is still possible for you. Regardless, I don't care what age you are right now. I don't care how many disappointments you've had in the past. I don't care how difficult it was, that it's still possible for you to accomplish this dream. This thing can still happen for you. And so Diana said, make sure you know that it's never too late and you're never too old to chase the dream. Yeah. And so I know. It can feel like it at times. Sometimes you say to yourself, why bother? Then you got to remind yourself, you got to find a way. And finally, the third thing Diana said, she said, when you see me in that water, it looks like it's a solitary event. It looks like I'm in there all by myself. But she said, make no mistake about it, it's a team effort. It's a team effort. Why? Because she had her trainers. It's a team effort because the people who believed in her over the past 36 years. It's a team effort because of her nutritionists. It's a team effort because of the people who came out, the crowd that was rooting her on. It's a team effort for her team, the people who are out there in the water. It's a team effort because of her doctor. And what I say to you is this, that this dream, this thing that you've been pursuing, make no mistake about it, that it's not going to happen all by yourself, that it's a team effort. That there's some people that you're going to have to reach out to, that are going to have to invest in you, that are going to have to pour into you. There's some people that you've got to reach out to that are going to hold you accountable. There's some people that you need to surround yourself with that are going to stretch you, that are going to make you want to grow. There's some people that you have to say, I don't care what it's going to take. I've got to get some coaching, some mentorship from you. I'm going to find a way because I understand that I can't do this thing alone. I understand that no man or woman by themselves is an island, that we all have to find something that's greater than ourselves in order to accomplish something that's greater than ourselves. That we need a team, a group of people who are going to stretch us, who are going to make us grow. It was Dennis Kimbrough that said, if you're the smartest one in your group, you need a new group. There's got to be some people around you that are thinking at a higher level, some people around you that aren't content with just seeing what you're doing right now, who see more than you see in yourself, that you've got to find a way to get around those people. You've got to find a way to get the coaching and the mentorship. You've got to find a way to look at them and say, hold me accountable. You've got to find a way because this thing that you're going after, this dream, it's worth it. And so right now, I want you to think about this goal, this dream, this thing that's been sitting on your heart. That maybe, perhaps, you've been thinking about giving up. Or maybe, honestly, as you're listening to me right now, you say, Andy, you don't understand. I already gave up. What I'm saying to you is, find a way. Find a way. Never give up. Find a way. It's never, ever too late to pursue your goals and your dreams. Find a way. Find the team, the group, the people that are going to hold you accountable, that they're going to help you to stretch and grow. Find a way. Yeah. Find a way. This has been Andy Henriquez reminding you to always show up for your life. Because if you don't, ladies and gentlemen, no one else will.